Hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on this classic wooden motor cruiser here in Victoria, British Columbia, along with my lovely girlfriend Andrea and the loving memory of my pup Geordie, all the while fixing it and others up for some pretty ambitious cruising. If that's the sort of thing you might find interesting, please consider sticking around and subscribing. I'd love to have you. Please excuse the large white monolith in the cockpit that's part of an upcoming project. Well, what a fantastic week I had, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Got to finish up the swoops, and they're fantastic. I also got to play with the upper helm a little bit, the actual steering setup up there. So I hope you find that interesting as well. You'll also notice that MV Geordie is now sporting a Starlink. That is thanks to the kindness of my good friend Lloyd, who actually gave me the boat in the first place. He's also helped start me up with Starlink, which is of great benefit because, well, I've been having some internet trouble. But anyway, talk about that in some upcoming episode perhaps. Anyway, let's jump back in time and get back to MV Geordie. And well, hello and welcome back to the shed and welcome back to the Swoop project. This is the week we get all the strips on. Those of you who paid close attention to the last week's episode may have noticed or may have already. Anyway, let's get on with what we're doing here. Morning to you all. Okay, so I'm so pleased with the way this is going. It's solid as a rock, absolutely secure. A couple of things we have to do before we can get to any actual strips on here, and that I didn't actually cut these notches back correctly when I built the bulkhead here, so a little fine tool trimming there. Got to remove some whatever this is off of here, because what I think I'm going to do is I think I'll actually offset some of the strips up into the existing strips here to create a little more strength through here. I know in other places I just put a butt, but because this transition is a real major transition in the boat, I'd like to be able to actually get some sort of finger joining in through here so that this is a little bit stronger. Anyway, a couple of little preps here, and then got to fare down these, and then we're pretty close to getting some strips on here. You can certainly see that there is some deterioration in the plywood here. It doesn't look like it goes too far, but there is going to have to be some work done here for sure. Certainly the last inch and a half or so of all of these strips is bad. So I'll trim them off and then trim some others deeper for some overlap. Okay. And to set the blade over for the bevels at the magic number, which is 9 degrees. I realize you folks are on the wrong side of the fence to get a really good view of that. However, you do kind of get in the way over here. Sorry. Okay, well, one of the first things I want to determine is if this yellow cedar will even make this rather sharp bend. And yes, whew, it will. Happily, happily, happily. As you can imagine, getting this end to fare nicely into the cabin top requires a bit of kind of little magic going on there, and I'm going to do that with the fine tool. Basically, I'm just going to hold this here and cut that and hope that that sits just perfectly. That's only the beginning of the problem down here. You can imagine what the next problem is. That works pretty darn well. Okay. The second problem is making sure this stays down as I start to spring the rest of it in place. And well, I can put at least, well, one screw through here, but that's not going to hold. So I'm also going to put other clamps on here, which will put sacrificial holes in the cabin top. But of course, this is all going to get fiberglassed over, so that'll be just fine. Okay, so now we can carry on with this first strip. If this isn't a little bit daunting, because I'm gluing this up at the same time, it's going to be possibly a very, very sticky mess. Okay. First off, a screw straight through here. That's going to be a small one. Okay, as I move forward, I'm going to put some clamps on to basically simulate the final fastenings. And we can lay out where this is going to land on the cabin top, somewhere about here. Okay, so the first one sits right in the... Yes, indeed. Just sits right in there. Very nice. Time to glue it all up and nail it all down. Right there. In terms of fastening, down here where the tension on the curve is very high, I'm going to continue with some little number 6 screws, and with any luck that will be plenty of hold for what we're doing. Excellent. And once the tension is off a little bit, I'll switch to 18 gauge 1.5" nails. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, clamps can come off. And we get ready for another one. Oof. I have to do the same trick to shape the bottom edge here. And now I have glue everywhere. The dreaded glue. And in place. That sits right against there, right against there. Well, there's another clamp to recover with the magnet. You get tea for me? Bring me tea! Oh, thank you very much. This is going super well. Come check this out. Come check this out. Come on, it's so cool.
Are you on camera?
Of course I am.
Oh, you bug.
Thank you very much for the tea. Come on, look. Look, 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 look. Curvitude.
Ooh, that's pretty.
Pretty nice, eh?
Looks very nice.
I'm telling you, it's working really well. Very, 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 very pleased with this. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Of course, there's a pretty substantial lip on each one, and that, I think, as I told you before, because I only put the bevel on one side of each piece of wood, there'll always be that little offset, but that will fare out very nicely when we're done. And this will start to make a perfect curve up into there. Oh yeah. Fantastic. 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 I'll correct this cut when I actually have a piece to go there. Look at oak. I found just slow, gentle flexing with this yellow cedar, and it slowly complies. I pulled a little fast a couple ago and I broke one. But if I take it easy, it's amazing how well this stuff bends. Oh, you notice I'm not using clamps anymore. That's because I've dropped 3 in the ocean. All right then, that was going to be the last strip and I was going to switch to plywood. However, I can't make marine plywood make that bend. I really just can't. The yellow cedar is magic to be able to do that. The problem is I'm out of good yellow cedar, so I have to get some more for next week, which I will do. Finish this up, finish the other side, but I'm so very, very pleased with the way this is going so far. If you're pleased with it, why don't you stick around and subscribe? And if you're really pleased with it, tell that friend of yours how cool it is, and maybe he'll subscribe too. Anyway, I'm really, really, really happy with this. It would have been great to finish off today.
1 week later.
Now, last week's efforts came to an abrupt halt when I ran out of yellow cedar, or at least good yellow cedar. Well, look at these 2 absolute beauties. They are perfect, lovely yellow cedar, and these were a gift. Thank you ever so much, Henry. I really, really appreciate that. Okay, let's start ripping these up into some strips. With this being full 2-inch stock, in fact it's slightly more, I can get 3 strips out of each base strip. So I'll just set the blade over for half my total bevel, so roughly 5 degrees, and I'll just alternate it and get 3 strips out of it. And back to work. Starting with trimming the lower edge. And well, there we go. I am really pleased with this. It actually came perfect to the edge with the last strip. It had been creeping a bit at this end, but you got to expect that with this compound curve. Have a little strut in here to try and keep the curve, and I just put screws in the end of these last two that will be trimmed off. But I'm really pleased with the way this all came together, and wow, I can't wait to get the sander on that tomorrow morning. Anyway, well, it actually might be yet another day because I still do need to do the other side. Okay, it being after hours, I don't want to make any more noise, but I want to get ahead on the upper helm. Many of you have been following for a while will say, yes, Peter, about time you got going on that. So let's do some figuring. Here are the key elements that must be in the upper helm. Obviously, the steering wheel. I'm going to use a sailboat style side of a binnacle Morse control, shift and throttle. I picked this up on Craigslist or something. It's not in great shape, but it'll be okay. And I think it's the kind of control I want. I'm kind of hoping these are bronze. If they're not, I'll live with them being shiny for now. Anyway, but it'll sort of be like a little binnacle the way I'm setting this up. It's going to be a square, basically a box coming up out of the cabin top. I'll show you in just a second. But before we get to that, I want to discuss all the sort of depth issues. So this is the basically beautiful big bronze steering assembly, and here's a shaft that goes through it. So that slides in there. I have replaced the sprocket, which is a much smaller one, so that it's suitable for the quadrant I have. So that'll sit in there. And then on top, before I put the wheel on, I have a spacer, which right now is a bit too big. In other words, I can't fully get the nut on, but I want that spacer because I want the wheel back as far as possible, and I'll describe why that's the case in just a minute. So obviously I could do something else here for a spacer, or I could just thin this out a little bit. The key things I need to do, or need to know, are the distance between this face and where the chain is going to fall, and the distance between this face and where the center line of the steering wheel is. Because of course, when I stand at the helm, I don't want to be reaching over the upper cabin top to be controlling the wheel. I want to be able to, have it fairly. So this is the next little project, to decide exactly where the wheel is going to go. Okay, the basic structure for the helm is basically just a box that's going to rise up out of the wheelhouse cabin top here, just ahead of the bulkhead, so that the steering wheel can hang out behind the bulkhead, and it's just going to be large enough to enclose the steering assembly that I've just showed you, as well as the helm controls. The top of it will just be a tiny little instrument panel. After all, being the upstairs helm, you don't need a full set of instruments. So basically, what I have to determine is where the wheel will be. And it's going to be a combination of steering while standing and steering while sitting. So it'll probably be low for standing, relatively low. And then it'll probably end up feeling a bit high for sitting. So let me get a chair and see what that feels like. Now this is a low chair, and I don't have a cushion on it right now, but it'll give me an idea. You can be sure I'm going to mock this up before I actually decide on the height. Okay, so I would say if it was airing slightly high for sitting, about there, really wouldn't be too bad. Oh yes, it's good. Okay, so let's say 13 inches. So if I retain 13 inches above the cabin top, that's pretty low, but not intolerable. Not intolerable. I have a small advantage in that I have the leading edge of the windshield that I can put back in place, because I can line it up with marks here on the cabin top. And I can hold that in place and use this face to use as a mock-up to temporarily install the wheel. But I think I'm sort of in the right ballpark. Let me ponder on this a bit. So I've reaffixed this center post, and I think I'm going to start with 14. 14 seems to be a nice round number. And so I'll clamp this onto here. There we go. Shaft in. Okay, from sitting, it's definitely high. It's high, but that's okay. And from standing, well, it's the other way I'm going to drive an awful lot is simply sitting on the couches facing sideways and driving like this, much like I do aboard Poem where I reach around and drive. So really the height is not that critical. Okay, so I've just reset the wheel at 16 inches above the cabin top. And honestly, this is just fine. If I'm just going to be cruising along like this, I could care less if it was any lower than that. That seems actually quite nice. And of course, I'm going to be up a few inches on the cushion. Let's see what it's like to stand up. This makes a huge difference. Just those few inches, this feels really, really quite nice. And good morning. Well, as I can certainly attest to, this was a heck of a lot of fun, but at the same time, a heck of a lot of stress. I'm actually dreading carrying on the other side because the original euphoria of getting this done will now pretty much be consumed, and now it's just more stress. And I'll tell you where part of the stress came in. Down at the bottom here, it's a lot of stress, excuse me, to bend these cedar strips at this tight bend. Now the cedar is a perfect candidate because it's sort of malleable. You can kind of even bend it and it stays a little bit even without steam bending. But you can see right here I have a bit of a ridge. And the reason that is because through here there's actually not enough curve. What was happening was it was bending too much at the station or the bulkhead here and relatively flat through here. Not flat, but not quite enough curve. And I corrected it from this point over and it'll be fine. It'll take just a little bit of fairing in here. Anyway, what I'm just trying to explain is I probably didn't put enough stations or bulkheads in, especially where the tight curve is. So I may consider putting an extra one in here and possibly another one in here, although the problem here isn't really as severe. On the whole, I'm thrilled. The end result will be fantastic, secure, strong, and just perfect. Definitely had a lot more fun playing with this steering wheel setup last night, but we'll carry on with that later today once it's into the no noise time of day. No noise, we got planes everywhere all the time. Okay, so I've been fairing these, and the way I'm checking them is just with a bit of a batten here. So basically against the plywood, that's my perfect curve. So I just keep bringing it across the various stations and bulkheads and making sure it touches all of them in that perfect curve. Very nice. Okay, I'm feeling really good about these extra stations. It's going to be much easier to get this bend on here without worrying about it having sharp points. Okay, time to get down to the gooey, sticky part.
Why? Okay. Are you not wearing these?
Because I don't think of it. I put them on for really important stuff.
Yeah, this is important. This is important. This is important.
Didn't you tell me last night you looked it up that yellow cedar is actually a carcinogen?
It is. It is a human carcinogen. It can cause lung irritation, eye irritation, and nose irritation.
Well, let's avoid all of that.
Thank you.
I feel like I'm going to the moon. Thank you.
Okay, love you.
Actually, I found it a lot easier to work with the belt sander than trying to left hand with the, anyway, this is working, this is working. Oh, yes. Absolutely. 2 more nails, and I'm with you.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you. Can I just push yours in?
Yeah. Ooh.
Lime in the eye, sorry.
I'm so going away this way.
Cheers.
Yeah, super good. Mmm. It looks super good.
Doesn't it look awesome?
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
I did the same thing. Oh my god.
The ocean is convenient that way.
Yeah, it is.
Excellent. No, I am super pleased. It's funny, doing the other side was stress. This side is just pleasure. It's going really well.
Do you have to
sand that down after? No, because yellow cedar, it's just rubbery stuff. It's fantastic. I just bend it fairly slowly, and then it just bends over, and it's just perfect. On this side, I put 2 more of these little panels in, which help me make the curve a lot better.
Over there than more in that one? Okay.
Yeah, on the other side I had to keep pulling on it and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't show the people. I had to do some fudging to make it work right on the other side. Here, it's just perfect.
It looks really good.
Let's go enjoy these.
Cheers.
That's gonna be awesome! Thrilled, 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 thrilled. Can't wait to fare this out tomorrow. Time for a shower and a lovely dinner. Lovely dinner! Okay, first off will be to remove these extra sections here. Okay, let's have a go at this. Well, I can say just after a few moments that this is lovely sandpaper, and of course you can never really tell by the feel of it, but this still feels as sharp as when I put it on. I'll know when I see how far down here I go, and I can tell you, sanding out this PL and this yellow cedar is very, very quick to fill sandpaper, and so far, pretty awesome. I cannot tell you how thrilled I am with the way this turned out. Yes, I have 2 fairly deep areas that will need to be we'll put some fairing compound in there, and that's because I didn't have enough bulkheads on this side. But on the whole, I managed to get it pretty darn close, and it's just fabulous. I finished sanding this side. You gotta come see it.
Okay.
Oh man, come on. Ah! Good poo? I mean, for Frida.
Oh yes, for free.
Okay, it's sandy and dusty, but run your hand over that.
Ooh, pretty.
Well, except for this little bit right here.
Oh yeah.
Nice, eh?
It feels really soft. It feels really smooth.
It's very smooth.
Yeah. It looks like almost like you put a coating on it or something. It's so nice.
Well, that's very kind of you. What it is just very, very good quality wood.
Yeah.
Put on with a reasonably reliable technique. Anyway, and it's the look of the boat. It finally has the look that I've been dreaming of for how long?
Many years.
Many
like
years.
8 years.
8 years. Can't wait to have this all finished. Mahogany in here, yeah. Okay, gotta do the other side.
Okay.
I'm not sure I can express the pleasure I have right now rubbing my hands over this absolutely beautiful, beautiful, what I'm calling swoop. I'm just so thrilled, so thrilled. It's completely changed the dynamic of the boat. Now, of course, everything's a bit of a mess right now, but I think you can see it. I think you can see it. I'm just absolutely overjoyed with the way that went. Tiny little bit of fairing to do on this side, but hardly anything. I've left it a bit rough up at the front here because it needs to fare a little bit into the other cabin top, but of course it'll take stripping all that off before I know exactly what's going to happen there. Yowza! Wow. Oh yeah. Okay, time for a major cleanup and then jump back on the upper Helm project, which I'm super, super excited about. Okay, that's a lot better. Now, I have already determined that my center post here for the windshield frame is exactly centered and it's affixed from below. So I'm going to take out this temporary strut and start to figure out exactly where this box is going to end up. And as I start to figure that out, I'll be able to describe to you a little more about what it actually is going to look like. Okay, so as I described before, the plan is basically a box that'll come up out of here, which will house the steering wheel, the Morse controls, and a little instrument panel on top. But of course, we are running into the windshield frame at the same time. But that was taken into account. In fact, the windshield frame will be trimmed slightly, and I'll explain how that is. So there's really going to be two boxes. The lower box is made out of marine plywood, and it is going to be sent through the cabin top. It'll be cut out, and it'll be tied in to the deck beams, or possibly additional deck beams, to give it lots of rigidity. It'll come up out of the deck far enough that it can hold the structure for the steering and the Morse control. However, that will be clad in another box, which will be made of sapele mahogany, because that's what you're going to see. And that box will come, oh, I don't know, maybe not quite down to the deck, so that when water is on the deck, it's not going to wick up into it. So the first box will be glassed up, and the second box will be over that. So I think from a weather-tight structural point of view, it's fine. Now it's just exactly where it goes. As it comes up, obviously I'm going to run into this leading post for the windshield frame, and I knew I was. So I actually set the windshield for a little bit further forward to accommodate for that. And what's going to happen at a certain point above the steering wheel where the instrument panel is going to be, if this is the top of the windshield, the instrument panel will actually come up on an angle and just meet the very leading edge of the windshield frame. This is all in my head. Let's see if I can make it happen in 3D, which will mean that this gets cut a little bit right up to that line. Of course, this part of it can't be completely built until the windshield is back on. But that does give me the opportunity at least to build the structural plywood box, which will house the steering and the Morse controls and everything. And then the veneer box, or the outside one, will go on afterwards, which will tie in all this stuff and give me my little bit of an instrument panel on top. That's the plan. I'm sure it'll change a little bit as I move on. Now the mock-up is based on the finish outside size of the finished cabinet, not counting the front edge. I'm not going to bother with that. But this would be it flush with the edges of these. Now, the box is going to be made out of an outer layer of mahogany, disregard that this is ply, and an inner layer of plywood. So I need to add that in at least where I'm putting the steering assembly. Now this notch is to fit around the windshield post that's coming up there. Now in the final installation I'll probably trim the windshield post to the box, but let's not cut anything nice until I'm sure I know what I'm doing. Okay, let's see what we can do about this. Here somewhere. I only just discovered something really neat about this. I was thinking that if this lever is too long, I'll simply unscrew the ball off the end, cut it, re-thread it, and I'll be all set. But those of you who are familiar with these types of Helm controls may already know that these handles are removable with little detent clips. So, I don't know, I guess that's when you're on a sailboat. Maybe you don't want to bump into them when you're sailing. I don't know what it is. So I think it's fairly likely I will modify this one, the shift, in some way so that it's quite a bit shorter. And hopefully it doesn't turn the throttle while that's happening. I'm liking this. I'm really liking this. Whew. Okay, then. I absolutely love it. Let me put it through its paces, make sure everything is good. I can tell you one thing that I definitely suspected. The shift lever is probably going to need to be shortened because at that point it would hit the windshield, and at that point it hits the steering wheel. Well, I fully expected that. So this will be shortened to just taller than the throttle, and then it'll be able to go to at least there, which I'm sure is long enough to do the shift. Excellent. And throttle, no problem at all. Okay. Tea! Talk about timing. Come check this out.
Ooh,
Take it for a spin.
Okay. And go sit.
You can wiggle the gear shift too.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. That's the forwards and backwards, that's the speed.
Oh, okay. Do we have a...
No, we will, but it's not there. It'll be a button up here.
Oh.
Cool, eh?
Very nice.
Are you pleased?
Looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Tea.
Tea. Cheers.
It's just horrible.
You hate it? Or
I hate it. I don't know if they hate it, but I hate it. No more clapping. No,
Whatever,
exactly.
it's just your thing. Lean into it.
It's the clapping. I kind of hate the clapping. Okay. That's good. I love it. You love it. Okay, welcome to the Travels with Geordie non-beer of the week, and this is actually the very last one on this rainy, wet day in spring. Kind of miserable out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true.
Let's get to a delightful beer. Our last dry beer will be Beck's and their version of the non-alcoholized beer. And having come off the great success of what's the one we really like?
Oh, Corona.
Corona.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping this might be absolutely splendid, so we'll see what we think of this. What a super week. So satisfying getting those swoops done and playing with that steering thing. It was pretty cool seeing the steering thing. Yeah. So you're going to be driving the boat this summer from up there?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good,
we're going
good.
to drive all around.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what we think of non-alcoholized Beck's.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, dear.
That's bad.
That's bad.
That's like soap. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's
I don't,
really
honestly, I don't drink Beck's. I don't know what a real Beck's tastes like.
I don't either.
And so for all you Beck's fans,
Sorry.
that's horrible. In fact, that is approaching undrinkable.
My tongue.
I think I would salute this if I could reach overboard with a dump in the drink. All right, we'll call that not successful. Okay, but we do need to cheers. So we'd like to cheers last week's winner of a Travels with Geordie t-shirt, who is
GIB 321.
Congratulations, GIP 321.
Congratulations.
Cheers without an actual sip. Get a hold of us and we'll make sure you get your Travels with Geordie t-shirt. We'd like to thank a kind fellow off the Amazon wish list who sent along the sanding discs that you saw in this episode, the Cubitron 3M sanding discs. They are extraordinary, I have to admit. They're quite something. And they came from Douglas Young. I don't have them with me because I left them up at the boat shed. But thank you ever so much, Douglas, for those lovely sanding discs. You're a brave girl. Oh, a little fakey sip.
I forgot.
All right. This week's word of the week will be dry, as it has been over a month now of not drinking alcoholized beers, and it's been a really good experience. I don't think, well, I won't talk about it too much because next week we'll have a big wrap up of what we thought of all that. But it was easier than I thought.
Oh, much easier.
But the spoiler is I didn't find any great change. I wasn't suddenly brilliant.
No.
I wasn't suddenly
didn't
sharper,
sleep better,
and we didn't sleep better.
no.
Anyway, so that's just the quick overview. So dry, do with it what you will, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers all.